We're digging into a story that we first brought you last week here on Today in St. Louis. 2024 was the deadliest year on record for pedestrians, and one organization is hoping lower speed limits will save more lives.
Our Mercedes McKay has been looking into data behind this growing trend all across the country. She's joining us now in studio, and Mercedes, it really does kind of come down to physics, right?
Rennie, Michelle, that's exactly right. So let's all think back to our school days in science class when we learned about energy and force. So it only makes sense that Trailnet is calling on city leaders to follow the science and reduce speeds to 25 miles an hour on arterial roads and 20 miles an hour on neighborhood streets. Now, it's something, as you mentioned, Michelle, that's a growing trend across our country, with recent state laws actually allowing for lower speed limits. The data shows that doing this actually does save lives. The U.S. Department of Transportation says 20-mile-per-hour speed limits can be promoted for public health and safety because they make vehicle crashes less common. According to data from the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety, a person hit by a car traveling 20 miles per hour has at least a 90% chance of survival. That chance of survival lowers to 75% at 30 miles per hour and 50% at 40 miles per hour. Now, I spoke with Ken McLeod, the League of American Bicyclists Policy Director. The national organization recently published a report on speed limits. McLeod says if a biker or walker is killed by a driver, it's rare that it involves actual speeding. Nationwide, it's less than 10%, and here in St. Louis, it's around 20%. So that's why McLeod says survival all comes down to the speed itself.
Physics doesn't change, and the physics of higher speed traffic is always going to create that danger. So I'm hopeful that we're going to take that science and take that evidence and act on it and create slower speed streets that are safer for everyone based on those physics.
Trailnet's proposal of lowering the speed limits has proven to work in other major cities. New York saw a 35% decrease in crashes and a 38% decrease in injuries and deaths. So good that we see that this stuff actually works. Again, this still has to go through Board of Aldermen, get it passed. But when I spoke with Trailnet last week, they're already talking to some aldermen here in St. Louis and hoping that maybe a board bill will pass in December.
So Mercedes, of the experts that you spoke to, did anyone have any idea as to why we're seeing more pedestrians being hit and killed by drivers?
I think a lot of us just naturally probably think, oh, speeding and distracted driving, of course. You look and a lot of people are on their phones all the time, and also a lot of people are speeding. But there are three different things that we spoke about. Lack of infrastructure everywhere. That's a problem all across our country right now.
So like bike lanes?
Yes,
and
bike lanes, sidewalks.
Okay.
We just don't have good infrastructure for people who want to walk and bike. On that note, we have more people walking and biking. We have more people walking using public transportation. We have less people driving cars. And then also the third one, which I thought was really interesting, is actually we're just nowadays driving bigger cars. So those big trucks, those bigger, even recently when I had to buy a new car, my car just feels bigger.
Sure.
You know, it's harder for me to see over it. I'm also really short. But, you know, so those factors definitely lead into it. But I thought the car thing was interesting. Our cars are built bigger now.
Yeah, they are. And they're built to withstand crashes and impacts that, of course, if you're a pedestrian on the other side of that, I can see, you know. Do we know what the biggest problems are in St. Louis?
So according to Trailnet, infrastructure, again, is a big thing. Inadequate pedestrian crossing specifically. So we followed the Ted Drews really closely on Chippewa. That's been really improved because of those actual pedestrian crossings. We don't have a lot of them here in the city. Also, lack of bike facilities. So we just don't have a lot of areas for bikers. We're seeing that they're building more, but a lot of times when you're driving on a street, I see bike lanes and I see drivers driving in it. It's like people don't even know, you know? And then also just high speeds on wide arterial roads. So those arterial roads, you know, like Gravois, Manchester, a lot of people just really speed on them because they're wide. So that's why one of the things too that Trailnets wants to do is narrow roads, because when you have narrow roads, you're less likely to speed because you kind of feel like you can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, these are really good things to bring up. And I mean, we go walking as a family, and there are lots of times when there's no sidewalk, you know? So I'm like, we're just walking in the grass. It doesn't feel right, you know? It doesn't feel good at all.
Definitely in the county and the city both. You know, it doesn't really matter where you are. So a lot of things to improve on, but just so we know, St. Louis isn't alone. This is something people are dealing with across the country.
Yeah. This weekend's a good weekend to also pay attention on the roads because Pedal to the Cause is taking place. So you'll see a lot of people out biking as well. So be very careful.
Yeah.